In 2016, I had an accident, a car accident. I was rear-ended at a red light, and the guy behind me didn't stop. My car stopped him, and that day, my life changed completely. Even though on that day I didn't know I had a brain injury, but a week later I was diagnosed. I had to go to the ER and was diagnosed with a severe brain injury. Um, I waited a week to see any kind of medical attention because I didn't know I had anything. I seemed fine, yet everything was wrong. So, brain injury happens to you and you don't really know what's going on. One of the things that I noticed is I had pain everywhere. And I thought it was the aftermath of the car accident. I had shoulder issues. I could barely hold my arms. They felt like they were 100 pounds each, and I had to put them in my pockets when I walked around, in my pants pocket, my jacket, whatever I had at the time. I couldn't remember a thing. And I couldn't operate my phone. I couldn't go on the computer and do anything. It would hurt my brain so badly that I just I just couldn't be near anything that would have any kind of EMF. My brain was so sensitive suddenly, and so the best thing I could do was texting. That was the most I could do. Being on the phone was impossible for me. I just couldn't understand anything that people were telling me. My brain was not functioning anymore. I'm a yoga instructor, so I would teach yoga, and I had about up to 15 classes per week to teach, group classes and privates. And so I remember trying to put an email together to tell my student base that I wasn't going to be able to teach for a few days. I thought I would recover pretty fast because I was super healthy. I remember on my way, while I was driving that day, I just felt so great. I was like thanking God for loving my life, feeling good. My health was at my top. I just felt wonderful, and I was just happy for the future, which turned into a major accident and changed my life overnight. So it took me that day, it took me half a day to actually put together an email and being able to send it. And it should have been something that I did in 10 minutes at the very most. So I lived alone at the time. It was very difficult for me to manage my life. My family lives in France, my entire family. I'm French and I live in the US for over 30 years now. I actually needed somebody to take care of me, to make decisions for me, um, because I couldn't remember from one day to the next what needed to be done or what was going on in my life. I would wake up in the morning and I'd be wondering where I was, what, who was I? I didn't know anything. I didn't recognize everything. So I would be freaking out, literally freaking out, and I'd have just heart palpitation, and then suddenly I'd just calm down, I'd breathe a little bit, and then I'd remember, oh, okay, you're here, you're a yoga instructor. It's morning. Well, sometimes also I'd sleep in the afternoon, and I would sleep for 4 hours or 5 hours, and I'd wake up and I'd wonder what day it was, what if it was morning or evening, and it was dark outside. It was all, my life was completely discombobbled and a huge mess, and it was very hard to handle. I wish I had been married or had a partner or somebody that I was living with. It would have been a great help, but it wasn't the case. How I survived was the intensity that I had with my spirituality and my beloved teacher that kept me alive and kept me going every day. Without that, I would have not survived. As a matter of fact, I was telling a friend recently, without my spirituality and the depth of it, I would have taken my life. Our brain, for people who have concussions or brain injury, is so dismantled and is so broken. Literally, it's broken. Your brain tells you you should take your life. I heard it in my head many times over, but I knew deep down inside that I wasn't that kind of person. It wasn't my thing to end my life, and I didn't listen to it, but I heard it many times over. And I understand also why people do take their lives, because your life is not possible anymore. The control center, which is your brain in this physical world, is not operational anymore. And so if you don't have faith or a strong spiritual inner self, I don't think it's impossible to survive. It really. So anyway, 6 years later, I managed to survive somehow, and I did all kinds of natural modalities to help heal. I found the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, so I did that for about 2 years, and I'd go every 2 weeks. It was quite expensive, but that's the only thing that brought me back to have somewhat of a life where I could actually teach a few classes. I felt pretty normal after hyperbaric oxygen chamber. And so that was really wonderful. I had full energy and I just felt re-jolted back into my old self. But it wouldn't last. It would dwindle down to, after a week, I basically would need to go back, but I couldn't. Also, it makes you detoxify tremendously, and so it was hard on my kidneys. That's what I remember, and also the lymphatic system that was releasing a lot of toxins, I imagine. So, but it was my survival mode, and that was the only thing I could do that I knew of that would help me. Of course, I went to the chiropractor. That also helped me tremendously. It was gentle care, so there was no manipulation of any kind. And I did a few more things. I had LED lights and blue lights pad at home, luckily. So I did this and put that on my head every day for sometimes an hour and a half. Anytime I was sitting down, I would put it on my head or on my lower back. I had pain everywhere. I basically became a 90-year-old woman, but I was 48 at the time. So now I'm 55. And so 6 years later, I was, by the grace of God, introduced to this little tremendous cutting-edge technology. It's a stem cell activation technology. It's easy to wear. It's inexpensive, although it felt expensive to me at the time, but much cheaper than the hyperbaric oxygen chamber that I was using. It was non-transdermal, so nothing was going into my body. It was just my body waking up through the phototherapy, basically. I finally started to use this little patch. The energy that I felt immediately was tremendous, and I thought, wow, what is going on? Something big is happening, and I just was very excited and very hopeful that this was going to be the way. I had already looked into stem cell therapy, but it was so expensive. I just thought, I can't afford it, and also I had to travel different places to be able to do it, and just the thought of traveling, I couldn't take a plane. Again, my life stopped during my brain injury. I became a hermit because I slept all day pretty much, and then unless I had to teach one class or had to see a doctor, and that's it. I had no life, and I didn't want to do anything socially. I couldn't handle it. I was too sensitive to everything around. My head would hurt all the time. My body was in pain. I had back issues. I could barely breathe at time. I would cough at time. I coughed for an entire year at least. I don't remember exactly. And I had all these different health issues that would show themselves as my brain injury was progressing and changing. So luckily, what I did during that time is I wrote my experiences as I went through it. So this was very therapeutic to me. So if I hadn't written all this as it went, as it happened, I would have never remembered half, not even half, more than half, most of my experience. The reason why I'm able to talk about it today is because I reread my book. It's basically a book. Thank God for those little patches. They're non-transdermal, so nothing goes into your body, and it's through phototherapy. It reactivates your own stem cell in the body. And I love these patches. I wear them every day. It's been 2 years now that I've been on the patch. It took me 9 months to recover from my brain injury, where I felt normal again. I felt like I could have a life. I could have an entire day of activity without having to stop and sleep for 3 hours or to vegetate on the couch. It was incredible to me because this was not like that before. I would sleep most of the time. Whenever I didn't have to do anything, I'd just be sleeping. And I needed to sleep. It's the most important thing that a brain injured person or someone with a concussion, a TBI, it doesn't matter the severity. The most important thing is not to use your head and let it rest and repair and heal. 9 months after I was using the patch, one day I felt normal. And I didn't dare telling anybody because I wasn't sure it was going to stick. And 2 weeks later, basically, I started to say, yeah, I feel normal. I think I'm normal. I think everything's fine. My head is back. And it just felt really great. It was like the promise was here and it happened. What I thought was going to be the promise of healing fully. I wanted to share my story. This is long-winded, but I wanted people to know that there's hope to recover from a concussion or a TBI. And if you're interested in those patches for an injury that you may have, if you've had surgery, it's fantastic for repair. It repairs 10 times, 100 times faster than the norm, especially if you're older. We know how not easy it is to heal when you're old or older. And if you have anything and you have no hope of finding a solution, I highly suggest you try these little miracle patches and see what happens for you. Your body will repair and heal according to what it needs. Right. You can find how to order underneath below in this video. I also have my website, the eclecticfrenchyogini.com. You can find out more information on that website. I have an entire page dedicated for those stem cells. There's about 100 clinical studies that have been done. There's patents that have been done also on the different patches. There's different patches that that exist. I will do a little video on my protocol and which patches I use to help my repair of the brain. If you have any questions, of course, you can contact me. There's an email address that you can contact me at, and I'd be also happy to talk to you on the phone. I'm a health coach, so I can help you maybe in so many ways if you wish to do that. And so you can book a session with me as well, and we can get you on your way back to health. Okay, wonderful. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe. Do share with your friends. Again, remember, it's not just about the brain injury, it's about anything you have in your body that you're not able to find a solution for, and so don't hesitate to try this.